So I'm going to go ahead and start that. Great. So I just wanted to start off by introducing myself. My name is Megan Doman. I'm the Farm to Institution Educator at Cornell Cooperative Extension in Essex County. I help institutions of all different sizes and types get access to local food and learn how to teach them how to serve it in their meal program. So I'm really excited that all of you are interested in learning more and are here joining us today. So I'm going to let Lindsay introduce herself as well, and then we'll have Carl introduce himself too.
So I'm Lindsay Pageau. I'm the Ag Business Development Marketing Specialist for Cornell Cooperative Extension's Harvest Near Team. We're a statewide program that works all over the state in various different areas of agriculture.
Hi, I'm Carl Bowen. I'm the Director of Nutritional Services and Support Services for Adirondack Health and Mercy Living Center. Here to work with Lindsay and Megan on explaining the farm institution that we've already been working on here at Adirondack Health and been implemented for several years now. So look forward to answering any questions and helping to explain what we're doing today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Carl. And since we don't have such a huge group, I was thinking that we could open it up and you all could introduce yourselves briefly, just what facility you come from, your role, and if there's something specific that you're looking to get out of this presentation today, just let us know. That would be great. So I'll just go down my list. First, I have a phone number, 518-523-8600. Do you want to unmute yourself and tell us who you are? All right, maybe we'll come back to the phone number. How about Alexandra Hooker?
Hi, I am the dietitian with the Franklin County Office for the Aging. This always interested me, so the director emailed it to me and I thought it was super interesting. I wanted to hop on.
Great, awesome, thank you. Joe Delorier.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I'm just on a phone call.
Oh, that's okay. So I actually know Joe. He works at the senior center in Willsboro. All right, Michelle Breen.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Breen. I am the director for the Franklin County Office for the Aging.
Thank you, Michelle. We have you on here twice. Do you have another staff member who might be on?
I do. I have my nutrition program manager. She might be on as well, and that is Marcy Spalding.
I am here.
Okay, great. Hi, thanks, Marcy and Michelle. We have C. Colette. Looks like might be having trouble with audio. So let's try Rachel Tart. It looks like both of them might be having trouble with audio. All right, let's try the phone number again. If you're 518-523-8600 and you can unmute yourself, just let us know your name and the facility that you work for. Okay, seems like a lot of people are having audio issues, so that's okay. If at any point you want to jump in, you're muted. All right, let me see. I will try to figure out how to unmute you. It shouldn't be the case. I don't have the option to try to unmute you, Rachel. So if you just want to type in the chat, that would be great. I'm sorry, I don't know why that's happening. Maybe Lindsay, if you are able to do that, I can ask everyone else except Rachel and C. Colette for whatever reason. No.
No.
Okay, if you guys want to put it in the chat, that would be great. And I'll go ahead and get started. Glad to hear that we have people from all across the region and all different types of facilities. So hopefully, something will spark some interest for you. So first off, what is Farm to Institution? Farm to Institution is an expanding program in our region and across the state. The gist of it is we help to get local food from farms and other value-added producers into the meal programs. This can occur in a variety of institutional settings: schools, hospitals, senior centers, colleges, early childcare and correctional facilities, and others as well. In some institutional settings, there are opportunities for educational activities. Some of these could be indoor growing. So I do a lot of this in schools, and actually a few of the senior meal sites in Essex County are also going to be joining. We'll be growing some pea shoots later this month in the sites. There are opportunities for farm tours, either for participants or for all of you on the call. And then there may be, on-site gardens and for residents and patients and families to enjoy. So why implement Farm to Institution? Institutions can help provide new and more stable markets for farmers. Farmers that grow storage crops, raise livestock, produce dairy, or have indoor growing operations in the winter months are all looking for winter contracts and people to sell to throughout those times. Institutions can provide them with those markets. They can provide them with contracts if they get into purchasing agreements and moving further down that line. They can also diversify their markets in the summer months. So many farms might be selling to farmers markets or through their CSA programs. Schools are not in session, and schools are a large portion of the institutional buyers. And so this is where other institutions can come in and provide more stable markets, find more diversified markets. Serving local food in meal programs can also improve nutritional quality of the food because local food doesn't have to travel as far. So produce can be picked, when it's at peak and ripeness, and it doesn't need to travel on a truck for a week. It gets picked and sometimes ends up in your facility later that day. For meat and eggs, it means that you have an opportunity to meet with the farmer, learn their practices, find out if they use antibiotics, if their animals are grass or grain fed, etc. Whatever's important to you as a buyer. It gives you that opportunity to directly ask the farmers and hear from them. And it increases the nutritional quality of products that can help improve health for some of the most vulnerable populations. So in hospitals, those might be patients, it might be seniors; in schools, it might be kids. And so once you have decided that this is something you want to implement, we move into the how to implement it. So Lindsay and I usually start off by seeing who is available in your region. Because there's such a wide spread throughout the region we work with in Essex, Clinton, and Franklin counties, we look in depth to see what producers are, in your town, in your few surrounding towns, so that you can get the most local product that's available to you. And so we have a database on our Adirondack Harvest website of all the local wholesale producers that you can purchase from. So I'm going to have Lindsay pop that link in the chat, and you guys can take a look at it at your convenience. This database is really wonderful because it allows producers to go on and plug in all the information that they want to give you. So where they deliver to, what they have at any given time of the year. And it does get updated fairly frequently. So you can go on and see in your region what type of institution you are. You can sort by all of those things and see which farms are available to you. This is not the most comprehensive list as well. So, Lindsay and I are constantly doing farmer surveys and trying to find new people that can better serve parts of Franklin County that are a little bit farther away from the Champlain Valley, where there's a lot of growing. We're looking for different types of farms all the time. Like we're looking for grains, and we just met with a new vegetable producer this morning. So we're constantly looking and learning about new farms that can sell to institutions. So once you see what's near you and what might be interesting to you, we can look over your menus and see where you can substitute local products. And so we recommend starting out small. Start with 1 to 2 items that are of interest to you that might be readily available, so that you don't have to struggle to find them, and you can develop these good relationships with farmers. And then you can grow it from there. And so, some of you might already have something in mind. You might want to start with apples or ground beef or something like that that is in abundance in your region. And that's a great place to start. But if not, we can look over your menus and see what's an easy thing that you might be able to implement. From there are a couple different avenues you can take. You can begin to implement more products, starting with 3 to 4, 4 to 5 from year to year. We also have a Harvest of the Month program that we do with schools. So this can also be implemented in other facilities, where once a month we will highlight a different product that's grown or produced in our region, and you can serve it on your menus. So that gives you the opportunity to really do it as frequently as you want. You can serve it once, you can serve it once a week, you can serve it every time. Like say it's potatoes and you have all different sorts of potatoes on your menu. You could serve it every single time, or you could just serve it once. And then we have a local ADK day, which a couple of schools are starting to do this year. It's in response to a New York Thursday, which is a lot of schools across New York do this, and they highlight all New York products one day. And we decided, let's take it a step further and let's do a local ADK day. So they are featuring products from the Adirondacks one day a month, and highlighting the different farms where they're getting them from. And then another option for how to implement it would be setting a goal of a certain percentage that you want to hit for local purchasing. So this is great at any stage. You don't need to be purchasing 5 or 6 different items. We can look through what you've been purchasing, look at your budget, and you can say, all right, I think a realistic goal is 5% for next year, and we can aim for that. So we're here to help with that. We help a lot of schools do this all the time, so we're good with the numbers and formulas, and are happy to help with that. So those are just a few of the different ways for how to start implementing it. And then a question we get all the time is what's available. So you might see a lot of these things at farmers markets if you go to the farmers markets, or if you shop in any small groceries that carry local food. For fruits, they're fairly limited, but obviously there's a huge abundance of apples, quite a few pears, plums, and berries. Vegetables, really anything you can imagine, lots of herbs as well. Meat is beef, pork, chicken, and eggs. There's lots of different producers selling beef and pork specifically. Eggs and chicken are a little bit harder to find, but not impossible. Lots of yogurt and cheese for dairy. There are, somewhat local milk producers as well, New York State at least. So you might be getting those through your distributors already. And then grains are something new that's been of interest to a lot more people lately. There are wheat berries, wheat flour, cornmeal, whole corn, if you want to include that as well, and then value added. So we work with food hubs and other value added producers to minimally process fruits and vegetables, and these can be fresh or frozen. So think like a diced potato or butternut squash, a coleslaw mix, or shredded zucchini for you to throw in zucchini bread. Those types of items are things that are available. And then how Lindsay and I can help you. So we're here to help really in any way that you can, any way that we can. We have the wholesale database. If you're not able to find the farms on there that work for you in your location, that's where we can come in and we can try to do some additional research and contact other farms that might not be on that database. We can arrange farm tours and visits with farmers that you'd like to buy from. We can help support you with menu planning, recipe development, budgeting, staff training. If you're getting a lot of pre-cut things in and you want your staff to learn how to dice up a butternut squash, we can help with that. We can also help you in finding local items that are, cost comparable to some of the items you're getting in. And we can also lastly provide marketing resources. So we actually have someone on staff at our office here at CCE that does quite a bit of marketing. So we can provide you Harvest of the Month resources to put up in your facility, to send out to in newsletters, or with, if you're senior meal sites, you can send it home with the participants. We can do this for the local ADK Day or other local food celebrations you might want to do as well. And if you utilize a bid process, we can also help with this. We do this quite a bit with the schools. We help write bids, help farmers respond to bids. And there are like tools and ways you can frame writing bids to help get more local food on your menu. Okay, and so I hope this works, but earlier in the year, we worked with a videographer to film a little bit of Carl's operation at the Adirondack Medical Center, along with 2 farmers that he's buying from. So this is about a 5-minute video that I just wanted to show, so you can get an idea of what Carl is doing at the Adirondack Medical Center. And then he's going to have a chance to share a little bit more in detail with you, but I'm going to get this started. And a little bit of background, we did 2 videos. We did one that was very public facing, pretty short. This is a second video we did that's really geared towards you guys, the buyers of at institutions. And hopefully we'll answer some more questions and give you better insight. Lindsay's going to put both video links in the chat. So if you want to check them out or send them on to a colleague, you can feel free to do that. I'm going to go ahead and get this started.
The agriculture we have in the area, we have vegetable farmers, we have beef farmers, we have unique trades such as specialty cheeses, we have people making yogurts. So I think it's very unique that we have such a variety. We don't need to get our food from out of state. There's a lot of food that we can get right here and then only fill in with what we can.
We sell beef, pork, and eggs to the hospital. We raise them all as naturally as possible here on the farm. And then we take them to Tri-Town Processing to be USDA processed for us so that we can sell the meat legally to institutions like Adirondack Medical Center.
So all of our products are made with our milk as the base, of course, and then all natural ingredients as well. There's never stabilizers. The yogurt itself doesn't have any guar gum or dry milk to make it thicker. It's just thick on its own.
As the farm to institution educator, I work with local institutions such as schools, hospitals, colleges, early child care centers, etc. And I help them get local farm products into their meal programs.
When you rely on food that's trucked in from other countries or even just hundreds of miles away, you're really increasing the carbon footprint of that food. So the more that you can do locally, you're really just helping the economy where you live, and you're also just helping the world in general. Not to mention then you know the farmer who's providing the food, you know how they're raising the food, and so you can be happy knowing where your food is coming from.
It helps us to be able to ensure the safety of our food for the patients here at the hospital. We don't have to worry about the large scale, whether it's a mad cow outbreak or E. coli outbreak or stuff that's linked to different parts of the supply chain, because we have it local here where the farmers really pay attention to making sure the animals are well kept for, making sure that the vegetables aren't sprayed with a bunch of herbicides or are not properly fertilized to where you could lead to an E. coli outbreak. So that really helps us provide us what I call a safer supply chain of food.
As an institution, if you have strong food safety protocols you'd like to follow in your kitchen, there are many farms around in our region that have food safety plans that they can share with you. Many of them have certifications such as New York Certified Organic or Animal Welfare Certified, and many of the farms sell to large distributors or other large customers and have great wholesale practices, are very responsive, and can typically meet the needs of all the institutions of different sizes in our region.
Like anything, it was building a program that didn't exist. There really wasn't anything geared to help large institutions. When you try to institute something, you get hit with, budgetary-wise, we can't do it. So we had to think outside of the box on how we were going to be able to make that happen here at Adirondack Health. So to offset the slightly higher expense of that, we worked with the farmers to give us wholesale pricing. So instead of them going to a farmer's market and selling their beef a couple pounds at a time to different people, we were buying 650 to 800 pounds at a time because we're buying a whole cow.
So the way that I organized it with Carl is it's based on their needs. So rather than following a traditional farm schedule where you're mostly doing your butchering in the fall, we butcher year round. So I have it set in advance and we correspond via email. I take the cow there and then he chooses whatever he wants from that cow. So it's all up to him.
We had a big green movement here. We pushed to use more stainless steel silverware, which we can wash and reuse. So we reduced plastic silverware by about 50%. We were able to reduce paper products by about 30%. So that 30% that we saved over the course of a year off paper, we then added to the food budget.
From the producer standpoint, we really like to know where our food is going, and we like it to go to our local community first. From the consumer standpoint, I'm sure they want to eat as local as possible and keep their food miles local, keep their calories local, know what's going into their bodies.
It's definitely been well received, and it's helped to grow our business by having that here because it's not always available in the community. We're doing about 40% local on just the food aspect. Yeah, it's not where we want to be. We want to get as high as possible. Now that we're having some help out in the community with Cornell Cooperative Extension, we're going to be able to, as more institutional places purchasing from the farmers, it's going to expand the farmer base and it's going to help us expand our availability to some of the products that we might not be able to get a hold of right now.
Yeah, so we would love to take on more institutions through our wholesale program. Right on our website, there's a wholesale buying tab and there's an order form that people can just fill out and become a new customer. They can also touch base via email.
It is a little scary when you think about how you're going to do something totally different, but it's obtainable. Know that other people are doing it, and there's resources out there. Reach out to Cornell Cooperative Extension, and they can help you get involved with whichever network of people you need to get moving. If you notice behind us on the puzzle pieces, local food is an important part of Adirondack Health, and the only way we can do it is one piece at a time.
If a new institution is interested in purchasing local food, they can reach out directly to me via phone or email. They can also visit the Adirondack Harvest Wholesale Database online, as well as our CCE Essex webpage to find out more information about Farm to Institution.
All right, and then I'm going to have Carl take it away to talk a little bit more in depth about his program.
All right, thank you, Megan. I just wanted to say, number one question I hear is, because I was hit with it when I wanted to start the program here at Adirondack Health, is, when I have to talk about how are we going to pay for it, because automatically people come up with, well, they're used to, going to the farmer's market, they're seeing what the prices they charge there, and they're like, well, how are you going to afford to do that compared to maybe purchasing off your GPO pricing or your special preferred pricing for a large institution? How we did that is we thought outside the box, and then we went right to the farmers and talked to them. And then several of the farmers I helped put through scenarios to them and work with them on pricing and saying, okay, well, if you charge me slightly less than what you're selling it for at the farmer's market, but I'm buying, 10, 15, or 20 times more than what a person's doing, you're guaranteed that sale all at one time. And then you don't have to transport it around and try to sell it or store it, pay refrigeration fees and all that. You just do one drop and we take the whole amount. So once we were able to get that pricing down a little bit, then there's still a difference between some items on what you could get on your bid. Say for instance, ground beef, the bid that you would get on our hospital contract we buy through our GPO compared to what I buy through the farms. The difference in that I make up with saving in other areas of the budget. Like I explained, we would look at how can we reduce our operating costs for disposables. Since people don't eat silverware, they don't eat paper plates and stuff, there's opportunities to save by using real silverware, real plates, pushing people to take it instead of just taking the disposable. And then we keep some of that items exclusive, and we have everyone on the line ask, are you eating in the dining room? Yes. Okay, then we automatically give them the real plates and silverware, instead of giving them a choice to say, okay, here in a disposable container and take it with you. And then they sit down at the table. So by doing that, we reduced substantially the cost of our disposables, and then we were allowed to then change that over to the food cost, and that brought up the difference between the two products. Now, when certain items are in season, so say vegetables, then we go into what do the farmers have a lot of that they'd like to do a large sale on. Now, for instance, obviously tomatoes, when tomatoes all come to ripen at the same time, people are inundated with them and they can't get rid of them quick enough. So we do one of two things. One is we figure out what we can use on the menu, because I look at what the farms have available that week, and then we plan our menu for the next week off of what's available. So if tomatoes is something that's on that, we're going to see what we can utilize tomato-wise that week, and then also what we can then process and either freeze and use in later months for soups and whatnot. Now, some of the tomatoes that were frozen from last fall, we're still using right now. Like earlier this week, we did a homemade tomato basil soup, which was very good, and it was made with processed tomatoes that were froze last fall in the walk-in freezer. Same thing with another soup that we did this week, which was a carrot ginger soup. That was done from carrots that were processed and frozen from this fall. And a lot of those soups are well received in such of our long-term care facilities, especially with the residents, because we can control different consistencies, making the soups ourselves. So people that need it thicker, we can control that, by cooking it down more. And people, whatever consistency we need, we can control that because we're actually making it ourselves instead of just opening a can. And as you guys know, in some of those instances, then you're adding the artificial thickeners to get the appropriate thickening that you need and whatnot. So it makes the food taste better because it's fresh ingredients. And we're finding in our case, on our long-term care facility, the residents are eating more of their food. They're not getting as weak and then need more supplemental food, which can be more expensive if you have to give them a lot of like boost shakes or Ensure, or on the worst end, if they start failing, and then they need to go on to a tube feeding or whatnot. So that the number one thing the dietitian is always telling us is we need to get them to eat. So having fresh foods available and making it with the best ingredients available are helping us to create the appetite for our residents in the long-term care. Now, on the hospital side, we've seen the dramatic change because I know when I went into the hospital as a kid, I'm going in with a persona that hospital food is terrible. Well, we've changed that here to the point where we have patients that are actually asking the doctors if they can be discharged after the next meal or whatnot, because they would like stay for another meal because they're enjoying what's on the menu and whatnot. Now, we have it where we have the standard hospital menu, which is written in a restaurant style it's a 3-fold plastic folder like you would go into a restaurant style menu. But then we also subsidize that with our cafeteria menu, which changes weekly. And the cafeteria menu really takes advantage of what we have available from the farms and how we can institute this. And what's nice when we order the food, such as the beef, I get a text message from the farmers reminding me, okay, I've got a cow going in next week for you. Then I jump on the internet and go through the cut sheet with the Tri-Town saying, okay, I want 25 pounds of stew beef. I want some bones to make stock. I want, I can put in whatever I want for cuts. And then what's nice about how we do it there is we can afford to be serving steaks and even filet mignon because we get that for the same price as we do for the ground beef. So it's one price for the whole cow per pound. So that really allows us to do some nice meals such as celebratory meals. If what our OB patient has a baby, then we get them a choice of a really nice celebratory meal, and one of the items on it is a nice steak, and they really appreciate that. We do it with a nice compound butter that we use fresh herbs that we either get from the farm or we grow here, and then they get the vegetable of the day, which is again normally a fresh vegetable from the farm or one that we've frozen from the fall, and then whatever the starch may be. If we have potatoes available from one of the farms, then we'll do a fresh mashed potato or a fingerling potato or some of the different varieties that are available out there roasted. And it creates a nice meal to help them welcome their new one into the world. So that's nice to be able to do that on a hospital budget because we're buying the product right. And again, we're spending the same amount on the steak as we are the ground beef. Another area where we can help pay for this endeavor is we take the leftovers that we have, properly cool them, and then put them in microwavable containers, and then we put them in our refrigerated vending machine that we purchased. And for those of you that may be intimidated because of the cost of the vending machines, there are grants out there right now for those machines that I can touch base with later on if anyone's interested and help them with that. There's grants each year. I have another one going in one of my other sites that's going to help us spread that food out to people who are working at your facility in the off hours. So if your kitchen's closed, but obviously we know there's nurses aides, cleaning staff that are there 24 hours a day, they have access to that same food that you're making after hours, and it can be sold fresh and they can microwave and still enjoy that. And you can reap the profit from not having to throw that food out and be able to take that money and help offset some of your food costs and help you to continue to expand your local food movement. But there's ways of doing it. There's creative ways of how you can move stuff around. And we've been successful here, and we're at 40%, and I hope to be at 60% within the next year or so, just by increasing the number of vendors. We are at 100% right now of our beef between the 4 farms I'm dealing with right now. We've got all of our beef coming in local. We have some of our pork coming in local. Chicken, I'm not to that point yet. Yogurt and cheeses. We have coming from North Country Creamery. We do quite a lot with Ashley down there. And then we do some of our vegetables from Juniper Hills. And then we're setting up some other farms up this way that we're going to get online this summer. And then our apples come from, I live in Peru, so I call it my backyard, but we're in the middle of apple country down there. So we have 3 orchards down there that we get apples from. And how we're able to do that there is, so I'm not hauling the apples myself, is we work through our local distributor. We deal with Renzi Food Service. We requested from them and saying, hey, instead of bringing apples in from Washington State, we live right here in the Adirondacks. Apples are plentiful. Can you buy some from some of these farms down here? And they heard us and reached out and made deals with the farms in Peru, and those are available through Renzi. So we're able to just order those from our normal vendor. Whereas the other stuff's delivered, like Ashley delivers the yogurt to us, and then the beef comes from each of the individual farms, delivers it. I know that through the Hub on the Hill program, that a lot of these farmers are starting to streamline some of that so that one delivery van will be able to provide transportation for multiple farmers and get the items to you in a regular fashion and under the proper circumstances, as far as cleanliness and refrigeration and whatnot. So it's been a positive experience for us. And the unsolicited press ganey comments that we get through the independent survey group are remarkable. I mean, we're getting, this isn't hospital food, it's restaurant food. We're looking forward to our next illness so we can eat there again. We're getting very positive comments. Same thing at our long-term care facility. And the long-term care facility is a few steps behind where we are at the hospital here, because the hospital started first. And we're still integrating some of that into our long-term care. So it's been very, very good, to the point where I brought on another executive chef that's helping us. His prime focus is just on menu development and helping us institute more into the menu. But it's just like today's menu out in the dining room there. We're doing a grilled pork steak with fresh corn relish. Then there's hummus and roasted red pepper and marinated eggplant on a pita bread. Then we did fresh homemade German potato pancakes with a homemade apple butter, and then braised red cabbage. And then the two homemade soups are a homemade mushroom bisque and then a homemade cream of broccoli soup. Yesterday we did a homemade carrot and ginger soup. So just getting those fresh ingredients and letting the cooks and with the guidance under the chef make this stuff, it really gets people excited. And you're not opening Campbell's soup and stuff like that, and people recognize the difference. They really do. That's it, unless anyone's got any questions for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Carl. We are at the questions point. So if anybody does have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. If you're still having trouble with the audio, please put the questions that you have in the chat. And I'll give you guys a minute to think about that. While we're waiting for questions, I just wanted to add too that on our Adirondack Harvest website, we have a spot where you can sign up for one-on-one support. So I offer support, as well as our agriculture issue leader offers support to restaurants. So if there's restaurants in your areas looking to start purchasing local food, you can go and fill that out. And on that page, you can also sign up to receive a wholesale newsletter specifically geared for wholesale buyers. So we feature different producers, we feature recipes, highlight different stories about local food, etc. So I think Lindsay will add that link in the chat too, if you guys want to sign up for that. And then I just wanted to also clarify about the beef, because Carl, you said you can get one price for all the cuts. That's if you're buying a whole cow. So, but it's not a requirement for you to buy a whole cow too. There are plenty of producers where you can just buy, 10, 20 pounds of ground beef just to try it out. So there's producers are really open to working with you in any way that works for you. So like for Carl, I'm sure he started out buying, did you start out buying a couple pounds here and there, and then you realized that you needed to expand?
Actually, no, it started off with, we just started off with one vendor, and we were buying one cow a season. And then we found out that it went so well, then we had to start branching out because he wasn't capable of giving us more than one a year. So then I started bringing on additional vendors, and we're using almost a full cow a month now.
Awesome. So there's different ways of doing it. I know for schools, they don't use all the cuts of the cow. They're really only using the ground beef. So that's what they're buying. But if you're using stew beef, or if you have steaks on your menu, definitely is more cost effective and economical to buy a whole cow.
Are you able to, maybe this is not the great question, but are you able to ballpark just to give us a figure of what per pound it would be for a whole cow right now, if we're looking just to get an idea?
Not really, because it depends on your volume, and it depends on which farmer you deal with. So,
Okay.
I have a slightly different price for each farmer, and that varies because of the volume that I may do with that farmer.
Okay.
So we're one farmer that I'll do 2 cows a year, and then another one that'll do 8. The pricing varies a little bit. So, but again, the farmers are great about working with you on that sort of thing. And then, as I was talking to one of the other facilities on a previous meeting, is if you've got multiple sites, it may work out where you can say, okay, you're going to buy the beef at one time, so you get a better deal, and then split it between the other 2 or 3 facilities that you have. Or if you're affiliated with another group, then it's something where you just go into a little bit of group purchasing. So that's another option that you might be able to help out with.
It might also depend on your location too. Some farmers will build in their delivery costs into the cost of food. But so I'm not sure if that was Michelle or Marcy, but I'd be happy to connect you with a couple different beef producers in Franklin County. And you could start getting some quotes on what that would cost. And I can give you a ballpark on ground beef is usually for the grain fed around $4.50 a pound. And then on the grass fed around $6 a pound. But that's, per pound.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And my contact information there. So if anyone thinks of something afterwards, feel free. Very open about sharing, my experiences and helping people come up with ideas if they're interested on maybe how they're going to present it to their leadership or whatnot. I'll be happy to help in any way that I can, because this is an important movement, and I think it's important that we keep as much of the dollars locally as we can, instead of sending it out to farms way outside the area there. We have farmers here that need our help, so I think it's important to buy local. Some of the other things that we're doing here to just offset that, we've got a plan this spring where we're going to do some herb gardens here at the hospital, so we get the fresh herbs right handy as we need it. And then we're also going to be doing some raised bed gardens of tomatoes, cucumbers, and such. So it's a nice endeavor, and I think the more local ingredients at any facility is going to help improve their foods.
That's great about the gardens. If anybody else has gardens on site and is looking for seeds, I have a wide variety of seeds that I can provide you with to get started as well. So just reach out if that's of interest. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions about available products or distribution or menu ideas? Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions, we can definitely end a little early. And you have all of our contact info on this form. For institutions in Clinton and Franklin County, Lindsay's going to be your primary contact, but you can certainly loop me in as well. And then in Essex County, I'm going to be your primary contact, but you, again, certainly can loop Lindsay in on that too. We both like to know what's going on, and generally we'll both help with the process. So feel free to reach out to us. I hope you guys look at those links we shared. Yeah, and if there's any questions, definitely give us a call. Thanks so much for all of you participating.